What is your name?
My name is Sue Elliott.
And what time did you start teaching here?
I started as a TA in the Social Studies Department in 1977.
Okay. And you were the Pep Steppers coach for how long?
I was 16 years. And in 1977, I interviewed for a position for a TA. And part of my resume showed that I had a dance background. So then they asked me if I was hired, if I would consider, starting this dance team. And I was like, I'm not familiar with, how they're done. I've seen them on TV, but yeah, that sounds exciting.
Yeah.
And so Mr. Stearman, Bill Stearman was the basketball coach and AD at that time, and he loved the Red Steppers. And so he named it the Pep Steppers, so it was 2 words, Pep Steppers. And he was so excited. And all through the years, he would always have the guys that would tape his games also tape the girls at the halftime, so that then he would watch and let me know how great he thought they were.
That's awesome.
So that was great. But the first year we started with by recruiting, and a young woman named Beth Thayer had just graduated from in that year in the spring, and she was a dancer where I taught dance and was starting to teach. And so she helped me with recruiting because she knew a lot of kids. She was a cheerleader here, and so we started with volunteers, and we had 38 girls in a giant team, which is, unheard of anyway. But and we did football and we did basketball. We did like 2 football games, but then mostly it was basketball. Then the next year we had tryouts, and then I did just 32 girls, and then we also that very next year started a group at Northside called the Spirettes. And they were a great feeder system because at that point, junior high was 3 years. Your 7th, 8th, 9th, and then the high school was just 3-year high. And so then we started that, and that was a great feeder program to come in to get girls starting to think about doing that kind of thing. But and then we started a JV team, and then we learned about camps for dance teams, and NCA, the National Cheerleaders Association, which also has the dance groups themselves for colleges, sponsored camps around the United States and different colleges and stuff. So we would go to IU, and we went to those camps, and that's a good resource for the kids not only to learn dances, but also how to be a team, build teammanship and all that type of stuff, and that was really good. And then we went to IU for a few years, and then I discovered that they actually had the programs at other schools. So we went to Ball State, we went to DePaul, we went to Otterbein College in Ohio, and it was kind of fun because it gave the girls of those years a chance to go to a different school to see the campus and experience that. But then went to a 4-year high in 84, 85, and no, it was 83, 84 maybe. I get really confused as to when we switched to the 4-year high, but we started a freshman team. So then I had 3 teams. So I generally had 40 plus girls because I would try to have 16 on the varsity and 8 to 12 on the JV and 8 on the freshman. And 8 because music is in counts of 8, and so that really helps you when you're choreographing and staging and everything, so anyway, that's what we did. And then right after that, here I've got 83, 84 was the first freshman team, and then the principal at that time, it was about 1985, approached me and said that he had noticed at other schools that they had a dance team with their band, and wondered if we'd be interested in doing something. And so he approached the band director, and of course that was a whole new ball game because I had girls that were part of the teams that actually did like volleyball or, fall sports. And so that ended up being 4 teams because with the tryouts, all of a sudden we say, now we got this,
Yeah.
And so we did that for I think about 4 years, and the last year the girls were actually even assigned band class. But so then that added, so summertime we went to camp, we went to competitions, and then we added band camp for that group of girls. So summer was really full, even though you think, well, okay, your season is basketball, but not really. You're really busy. And then, of course, the competitions for the band are just absolutely awesome.
Oh, they are.
I mean, that it's just crisp fall day, everybody all pristine and ready to go, and it's just like it's such a cool thing. And but doing competitions, we needed to earn some money, so we started doing dance workshops for elementary girls. And so kindergarten through 6th grade would come, and we'd do a big long Saturday, and they'd take classes and the girls would teach them, and then at the end of the day we would do a show, and they all got a t-shirt and all that kind of thing. And it was really cool and so exciting. One year we had 165 kids, and after a while I even had girls who came in to try out for my teams who on their resume said they had been to our workshops.
Oh, yeah.
And so, talk about a feeder system. The kid was here when they were in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
It was fun. And it's just awesome girls all the way through the years, And then not only did they do things for themselves and for the dance, but we did Christmas projects. Instead of doing Secret Santa, the welfare department would give us a couple families per year, and the girls would buy toys, clothes, and then the parents of the Pep Steppers would get together and do food, and we would make all those deliveries, and then we'd come back to school and have pizza, and it was such a great thing. Instead of doing Secret Santa for each other and giving each other dumb gifts for 2 weeks, it was something that they could give to the community, and I thought that was really cool. But we did all kinds of dances, every style, you name it, we did it, whether it was flash dance or Hawaii 5-0 or, kick dance. The girls would have just loved to do the current styles, like you see now, or when we got to the hip hop and we got to the different things, they would have loved to have done that all the time. But our crowd, though, was all ages. And as you guys have probably learned with people from, the history of the school, a lot of people came to the games back then, They would have graduated 20 years before, but they still supported the teams. And so you wanted to be able to have, so we did all these different kinds of things. One time we even did, the girls, we created and made life-size dolls for them to dance with. They had jeans and flannel shirts and, their heads and stuff, and the girls wore 50s kind of outfits and danced with the dolls. We did a circus. I used all of the girls at that point, all the teams, and we did like the Parade of Clowns, that music, and even rented a horse costume. 2 of the girls volunteered to be the horse, and we had clown, firemen, we had all kinds of stuff.
That is awesome.
And it was so much fun. And what was funny though is, like the next week I got in my mailbox a note, and it was an article from the Bloomington Herald, and evidently the sports writer who was on assignment here, because we played a Bloomington team, he had written about it, and he titled it, "Columbus Always Has a Show." And he said about the excitement of Columbus, Indiana, the arena, the basketball, the pep band, and everything, and then talked about the girls' halftime and the circus. And that was just so neat, because you think, okay, somebody really, out there is enjoying what these kids are doing, and it really helped them with their confidence, and just the fact that, that that you're doing a good thing, you know, because they worked so hard as any, you know, sports team or, you know, or that kind of stuff. I worked with the musicals here at North, and, you know, it takes 8 to 12 weeks to really put on a good show. But then you do the show for 3 days and then you're done. It's like, oh dear, and let's do this again, you know.
Yeah.
And that was the way the girls were. And the thing is we did a different dance every time. So many years we would do 14 different dances. Some of the most exciting times was the holiday tournament that they used to do, because a lot of the alumni would be back.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and then they wanted to be really good for the holiday tournament.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
so that was fun. But probably it was the biggest was Mr. Stearman approached me in '91 and said, I don't know if you know this or not, but this is going to be the 100th year of basketball. So I wonder if you could do a halftime show, you know, something about basketball. And I'm like, yeah, sure, we could do that, you know. I'm like, whatever. But no. So I started researching basketball and got books from the library and all the things, and then found out with, you know, back history of Columbus and what was happening in Columbus. And my husband graduated in 1942, and he was on the basketball team with Mr. Stearman back then, and he, you know, been around for a long time. And but then and he told me, I don't care how long it is, the program can be as long as you want. And I'm like, okay. So I took the 100 years and I divided it into the different 10-year decades, and then I found music that we could, you know, splice all together, and I cut it, you know, spliced it, and then we got costumes. Like the very first group, the girls had lawn dresses and parasols and all that kind of stuff. We had, you know, Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy in the 40s, and we had the 50s. We had, you know, just everything that you can imagine. And again, used all the girls on my teams, and it ended up being almost 11 minutes long. I did a script, and Bill Hamilton was a teacher in social studies and really good with radio kind of stuff, and so they dubbed his narration over the music, and it turned out so great. We were just so excited about it. Well, that week, it was January the 11th, 1992, I got a call from Joanne Greenlee, and Joanne was the secretary in the athletic department. And she said that, I want to let you know that the superintendent of the IHSAA is going to be at the game on Saturday night, and he's not going to be there to watch the game. He's coming to watch the halftime show. And so Mr. Stearman had invited him. And so it went off. It was great. We were so excited. And, you know, great reception. And the very next week, I got a call and from the state office, and they asked if we would consider being at a halftime at the state finals of the boys. And I was like, that sounds so exciting, you know. Wow, you know, and let me check it all out. And there was just one hitch, though. It could only be 8 minutes long, and they wanted more information in the narration about Indiana, because I had a lot of Columbus stuff, you know, in the narration. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. And so I had to go back to my research and change the narration. Well, and then you got to cut 3 minutes. Well, you don't cut 3 minutes of just get rid of a couple decades. You know, you had to just go ahead and, you know, I had to go back and choose the music and splice it down. And state finals are always on Columbus North spring break. And I already had girls who were going to be like in Hawaii or Europe or who knows where. So I was missing about 5 girls, but some of the cheerleaders who were good friends came forward and would fill in those spots for us. So we had to relearn, regroup, and it was awesome. The girls were treated like royalty. They arrived. They'd take you down. It used to be that they would take you down in this tunnel and literally take the school bus down in the tunnel. And then you get out in there, and then they went out and they performed, and they estimated there were 40,000 plus people in the arena, and it was absolutely awesome. It was so funny. They showed the whole thing on television, and there were, you know, back then there wasn't digital, so you had cables, and you had guys running around with cameras, getting in the girls, literally in their faces, and all over the floor, and they'd be moving, and then they come back, and then, you know, the cameramen are running everywhere. But it was just absolutely so wonderful, and what an experience, you know, for those girls to have had. And what a privilege, because we found out that you literally usually have to, like, apply and send a tape and wait to get accepted to be a part of them.
And they were invited.
And we were invited.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was really great.
Yeah.
But the 2 years after that is when I retired. I was becoming more involved with Mill Race Players. I'd done the North musicals, but I was starting to be involved there. My children graduated 80, 82, 86, 88, so they were moved on. I even had grandkids by that time. And I just, you know, was ready to go ahead and move on and do some other things. And they hired a couple coaches, and they stayed for a couple years. And then after that, it was mostly former dance dancers that came forward. Some were teachers locally, and then Beth Thayer, who helped me way back in '77, had opened a dance studio here in town, and she went forward and came forward and took over in around '98, I think. And unfortunately, she passed away in 2000. And then after that, there were two more coaches. The last coach was Mandy Schaff, and Mandy had been one of my dancers, and she and her mom had Christie's Dance Studio, and she's an awesome dancer herself. And so she was, I think, the last. So it was a little over 25 years of the team, you know, being around, and so many awesome, wonderful young women coming through, and, you know, talented and dedicated, and just, you know, and they were, I always say they were challenging, engaging, but it is just absolutely awesome. And they were like my extended family, you know. You just, yeah, because you literally for a year, you know, you're going to St. Louis for competitions, you're going to camp, you do so many things together, so it's kind of like you spend a lot of time. But I can't say enough about the fact that, you know, Bill Stearman's vision of, you know, he won the Pep Steppers. The very first pom-poms he ordered for us, I didn't even know anything much about, you know, doing all that. But, and now, of course, they use the little tiny ones, and they use all kinds of stuff. But anyway, he ordered these things. They were humongous. They were so big, by the time he fluffed them, I think they weighed like 7 pounds each. But his vision, all the administrators that were so great, and then the community accepting us, and, you know, it was really a great experience for, I think, so many girls, I hope. And you just cherish those times, and they all would come back. And when they try out, it was always, I never wanted to announce. I always had judges from elsewhere. I didn't judge myself, and because it was just too hard for me, because everybody wanted to be a part of it, and I would cry, you know. I'd be like, I know, I want to take them all, you know. But it was just, I had one girl who tried out freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, and didn't actually get on the team till her senior year. But she kept coming back, and she kept working with it, and she'd be, what can I do? And I'd be like, just practice, you know. And she did. And that was so exciting, you know. And so, you know, you think this is really a good thing. And I am so appreciative of the historical group, including the Pep Stepper teams and their endeavors as part of this history. You know, it's one slice of it, you know, 25 years plus, which is pretty good. But it just, you know, an awful lot of girls went through, and I think that that's, you know, really a good thing for the history of the school.